Well, welcome friends. We're on the second video of the culture of debt, and this is dumping debt. I hope that you will find this lecture stimulating and extraordinarily practical for your lives. Debt is a way of life in the United States, and unfortunately, too many families, about 70% of Americans, are swimming in debt, and debt is just suffocating them. So let's get the strategies how to better manage our debt, and let's see if we can eliminate most of our consumer debt. So this is what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on the sources of consumer credit. You now know the types, but let's look at the sources. The cost of credit, the student loan debt, what debt does to us, the anxiety and stress that it brings upon us, what loans we should never take out, and then how to get rid of it. Are you ready? Let's go. Sources of consumer credit. What kind of loan should you seek? Inexpensive loans? Do you want to borrow from family or parents? Hey, if you want to ruin a relationship with family, go ahead and ask for $10 from a brother or sister or family member. It's a good way to really ruin relationships there. Loans that you could use financial assets against. You can borrow many times against insurance policies or your retirement as collateral. All different ways of a source where you can get some credit. And of course, we've got the bank loans and we've got the credit card loans, which we know about. Medium price and expensive. Commercial banks, again, they make money by loaning money out. Pure and simple. So that's what they do. Okay? And they're not the most expensive. We think that a family loan is the most inexpensive because we pay very little interest on. But again, we're also, or borrowing from a friend, but just remember the relationships can be very much put in jeopardy. Expensive loans are these check cashing companies. This is unfortunately hits the unbanked society of America that really do not have financial institutions that they can go to. So you'd have to go right there and go to the check cashing, the horrifying payday loan lenders, the appliance dealers, the rent-to-own. That rent-to-own is a terrible way to do business as a consumer. Okay, or you're going right to the used car lot and they're going to tote the note. Okay, we know credit cards can be very expensive because they're 18 to 29% interest rates. And of course, cash advance or any type of a refund loan that you're pre-buying, like your taxes, you're going to get a refund, and so a company will say, hey, we'll go ahead and loan you the money until you get it. Again, we're going to look at why they're so expensive. It's the cost of credit. Okay, there's nothing free. So you pay the principal and interest. Your principal is what you borrowed. The interest is the expense of that. Okay, that's what the lender is going to give you. They're charging you for that. So think of principal, interest, and don't forget, there's always hidden fees. When you buy your first home, or for those who have bought one before and continue to buy another one, and you get all those different fees, origination fees, title fees, fees. They're all rolled in to the cost of the loan. And these are questions that you ask. What's my interest rate? Well, what are the hidden fees here? What other fees is it going to cost me to get that loan? Few things here. There are some laws. They're there on the books to protect us. Okay, the Truth in Lending Law, all right, that is a federal law that basically says what is the annual percentage rate, and that's the rate you really you must understand from your lender, because they may give you, the effective rate, the annual percentage. What is that? It's the finance charge, total amount you're going to have to use. Okay, that includes the cost, service charges, insurance, anything else. So those are the same things that we want. APR is what it's called. Okay, that's your key to comparing other loans. Regardless of the credit or how much time you have to repay it, what is the APR? It's the true rate of interest. So that's what you want from your lender. What am I going to have to pay every year? Annual percentage rate. So term versus the interest cost. Longer loans, sometimes someone's going to come up and say, hey, especially on your student loans when they come due, we can give you 10 years, we can give you 20 years, we can maybe even extend it to 30, and you have a very small monthly payment. Well, you may have a small monthly payment, but now we've doubled the loan from 10 to 20, or we've tripled it from 10 to 30. So that results in a tremendous amount of interest. It looks kind of good because my monthly costs are so low, or lower, but it's just when you pay it. Do you want to pay it on the front side, or do you want to pay it on the back side? Lenders have a risk, and so this is why they are able to charge higher rates. They could say, Randy, you're brand new, you just got your credit, and you've only been in the workplace a year or two, so to me, you're a higher risk. I have to have a higher interest rate. So here's some ways that we can reduce the lender's risk and your interest rate. If you provide collateral to secure the loan, that makes the loan much more, or I should say, much less risky. Make a large cash down payment up front. I think that's a great idea, especially when you're going for a car. We'll talk about that. Or anything else that you're buying. You make that payment up front, so therefore you have a smaller loan. You can go a shorter loan. And we'll talk about that in mortgages. The 30-year fixed rate is a workhorse in the mortgage industry, but you can get a 20-year loan. You can get a 15-year loan. So, interesting. Also, you can always shorten a loan by making an extra payment directly to the principal. And this will make your interest much less over the life of that loan. It'll pay it off a lot quicker. So we're going to look at all of this. Of course, the cost of credit and inflation. Friends, if you've taken an economics course, if you've taken other business courses, inflation is the consumer price index. It is basically how our money erodes and how fast prices increase. And so whatever number you believe to be the inflation rate, the government has said it's been 2 to 3% since basically 1992, and we know that's not true. The government can do various things to make that rate look really good. They've changed the equation of how the consumer price index is measured. But every 1% increase basically means you have, or a percentage point, that the inflation rate is, basically you lose a percentage point in your purchasing power. So friends, the last 20 years, if it were just a 1% increase, we've lost 20% of our purchasing power. Why am I going over that? And we may have lost a lot more, which I think we have. Because if I have a lot of debt, a lot of consumer debt, and inflation is ranging more like 10% a year, well, pick the number, anywhere from 3 to 10. The next year, unless I'm getting great raises, I have really less money to purchase. My purchasing power is down. I have to buy my food, I have to buy my gas, I have to buy a lot of different things, and I'm still servicing this debt. Get what I'm saying? So inflation, as it rises, the cost of credit gets more expensive as well. And of course, interest rates will go up in the same fashion. But it usually means I just have less money to go around. And of course, tax consideration. Back in the day, back in the wonderful decade of the 80s, 1980s, now I was just a baby, that's all I was. But you could literally write your interest rate for your credit cards, for cars, all sorts of consumer interest was a write-off. And so that was one of the reasons credit became and grew so fast, to say, hey, you know what? I've got a lot of debt out there, and my interest payments basically for my consumer debt was, let's say, $5,000. Okay, that's an extra deduction I get. So most people didn't think that was a bad thing. Then the tax laws got rewritten in about 1984, 5, 6, 7, and that got off of the list for itemized deductions. What can we do to pay down our debts? Avoid this. Avoid the monthly minimum payment trap. Many companies will give you a small monthly payment because $40 a month doesn't sound too bad. But if this was our debt, it was 18%, it's going to take me 10 years to pay that, and I've doubled the loan, well more than doubled it. Same rate, just like that Ultimate Home Theater example we had. $55, a little bit. I've just gone up $15, but look, I cut it in half just about. And if I went to $200, I could pay this thing back in a year and pay maybe a couple $100 worth of interest. Okay, making the minimum payment each month gets you nowhere. In fact, it can just get you only to pay the interest. And that credit card companies say, you think they like that? You're absolutely right. They love it. As long as you're making current payments and that debt's never going away, we love you for it. That's the way the game is played. We are going to be smarter than, we're not going to play their game. We're going to rewrite the rules here. There's something called the Rules of 78. It's a complicated formula. Well, at least it was for me. We know the Rules of 72, and the Rules of 72 is how fast money can double, which works in the saver's favor. This works in the lender's favor, always favors the lender. And basically it means that you're always going to pay a lot more interest up front on your loans, especially your loans that are like a mortgage or a automobile payment, because they're closed-ended loans and you pay a set month price each month. And so if you bought a home, and we're going to talk about this, and your mortgage, basically, if you go look back the first 7 years of your mortgage, you're basically just paying interest. It's not till the 8th, 9th, 10th year where you start cracking into the principal. Okay? So that's very interesting right there. That's what the Rule of 78 is. How do we combat that? We make a bigger down payment. We start adding extra payments into the loan. And there's something called credit insurance. If you have a credit card, you're probably always offered this. It sounds like a good idea. If death or disability or loss of property or you've lost your job, basically it insures the loan. It keeps getting paid. Now, death, it would be paid off. If you're disabled or you've lost a job, all it does is keep the minimum payments going. The premiums are very expensive. We're going to talk about insurance as we wrap up our financial plan in Unit 4. And so, good, strong, level term insurance, 10 times your income. If anything ever happens to you, you should be able to pay that debt off or mortgage off. So the problem with this is it's like $10 a month for a very small balance, and so you're just not getting a good deal there. All right, let's let the pedal hit the metal here, my friends. All right, the rubber meets the road. Give me some more colloquialisms. College debt, the student loan crisis we're in. $1.7 trillion. We can go back to the start of this millennium. We can in fact go 2004, 2005. Total college debt was $300 billion. That's it. So that's everybody before 2005 that still had an active loan. So your parents may be in that loan. Anyone from the 90s and the 80s that were still financing that, it was nothing. College tuition has gone, well, I can't use the vernacular that I like to use sometimes because it may be on borderline profane, but it's gone absolutely crazy. Colleges, especially private schools, we're not even talking inflation. We're talking 10 times inflation every year. Up, up, up. Why? Because we can charge higher prices for lots of different things because there's adequate financing. And so college loans are at 1.7. There they are. Just look at that. That's almost a 45-degree angle. Hey, there's auto debt. There's credit card debt. It wasn't until right about 2010 where college debt outpaced it. And these have always been the highest consumer debts. And does it look like it's going down? It's not. So, take every single course that you can at Tarrant County College. You don't stop. Okay? Every single one. And then you transfer when you have your degree, Associate of Arts, Associate of Science, whatever it is you're looking for. And then when you've got your bachelor's degree and someone says, oh, you need really more skill sets than that, which makes no sense, does it? And I got to go get a master's, come back to one of our technical degrees, okay? Let's crack this nut. It's going to be real positive here for a second, okay? Actually, it's going to be the opposite of that. It's going to be real hardcore truth. Average college student graduates with well over 35 grand in college loans, 10,000 in credit card debt. 50% of all college loans are in deferral. Now, how do you get a deferral loan? You don't have a job. If you do not have a full-time job, you can apply for a deferral. Is the interest being deferred? Nope. You're still paying. Your interest is adding on. And here is the rule of 72 in the opposite direction. 8% interest rate, that alone, and that is a college loan rate right now, will double every 9 years. So if I'm in deferral for 4 or 5 years and then I start barely paying my loan back, my $30,000, that $35,000 loan has gone quickly to $70,000. By the way, 90% of the loans are backed by the U.S. government. The U.S. government is in all sorts of problems, and so they're going to finance terrible debts we have through the backs of students. That's just my optimistic opinion. Okay? So, hey, friends, we probably have some debt. I'm not saying don't ever get in debt in your college. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying you got to come up with a number. For those of you who are going to transfer on, come up with a number that you and your family can live with. And then we'll pay that off. We haven't even talked about private schools, so let's talk about that. We have 2 major Tier 1 private schools in our area, Texas Christian University and Southern Methodist University. We're paying for the college experience, and of course, in this COVID-19 era that we're going to live in for the next several years, I don't see us getting out of this until 2025 at the earliest, because there's going to be a tremendous memory. And of course, we are reshaping all of our worldviews right now and how we spend our money. And maybe this is what came front and center. Why are we paying? If you were living at home and going to either SMU or TCU, if you didn't have any type of scholarship, you'd be at least at $55,000 a year. $75,000 if you're doing room and board, which you may not be able to do because everyone's closing down. So where's the experience anymore? Maybe this gives the chancellors at other schools across the nation of what have we done, because listen, you could learn all this stuff on YouTube, all right? I'm not that stupid. We can do it on YouTube and you have a great education, but we give you a degree. All right, back to it here. $300,000 in 4 years. Hopefully you graduated, not you, but the student, because we're community college and then we transfer. The smartest. I did a quick hit here. If you did a 20-year note on $300,000, and friends, I've seen the students. I've seen them with at least this much debt. This is about the most I've seen, close to 300, but now it's becoming very common. You would pay $2,940 a month for the next 20 years. You have a $600,000 payback. This poor student is going to be so stressed unless obviously they're not coming from a very wealthy family because they had to borrow the money, okay? And I don't know you'd have to have super wealth to drop this type of money. So, yikes. You have no life. All right. You graduate TCC. You get a great scholarship. Hey, my daughter went to TCC first 2 years. She did everything, got a great scholarship to TCU. First year was great. And then they started going up on their tuition. We're able to graduate very soon, and her debt's going to be very low, and my portion, you know what, it was worth it in that situation. I could not ethically put anyone through that without the scholarships that she was given. So get a good scholarship. Student loans, 56% of all college students, their balance is $37,000. Be careful. We're Tarrant County College. We are a direct loan institution. I believe you can borrow at a minimum of, if you're at least have 9 hours or more. Now, again, I'm being dangerous here. You can go to financial aid, but you can take a Stafford loan out at $5,500 a year. Oh, great! I'm going to pay for my car expenses. Friends, borrow only what you need, classes and books, when you do go on, because the financial aid calculation does give you extra money for this. It gives you extra money for like your car, for transportation, for living expenses, and you may get, depending on what school you go to, you may see a $5,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 check for the rest of the year, and you go, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. And we'll go spend it. Send it back. You're able to send it back. You could take it right back to the financial aid office and say, please cancel this much out because I'm not going to use it. It'd be tough to do. You can do it though, because this is the craziness of what's happening. So, stop killing the price of our dream. Yeah. Let's take two numbers. Let's take 30 grand. I think if you can get your bachelor's degree for and your debt load is 30,000, you've done a good job, or under, you've done a very good job. Maybe it's 60 if it's in a private school. Let's take those two numbers. Now the standard loan payment is 10 years, 6.8% interest. That's 120 payments. Okay, 10 times 12. So that's $346 a month on the $30,000 loan. Your total payback is $41,400. So you've paid $11,000 back in interest over 10 years. Okay. The $60,000 one is $691 a month. That's a Range Rover right there per month once you graduate. 82 is what you pay back, so you pay $22,000 in interest. But when you go to your finance, you have, I believe those in debt have a quick little counseling that they do in a very small room, and someone says, okay, here's the loan, or now it's probably all just through an email. We can get you 20 years. Oh, really? Yeah. Same interest rate, 20 years. So that way, instead of paying $346 a month, we can get you down $200 a month. That's not too bad. Okay. Oh, you're 60. Instead of 700, how about 400? All this, those numbers sound nicer. But again, we've extended the loan. So what's going to happen to that? I pay back $62,000. I've now doubled the $30,000. $32,400 is what I pay back in interest. And of course, I pay $65,000 back on the $60,000 loan. I've doubled it, more so. That's normal. We don't want normal. We want ruthlessness. Here we are. Pay it back ruthlessly. If you have to live back at home, and again, I say that as long as home is a good place. I know for everybody, home is something that it may not work for us, but if it does, great. If not, get several roommates, okay? And here's what you do. If you could live at home, add the rental cost to your loan payment that you would be paying if you had your own apartment. So let's look at this real quick. There's your standard loan. There's the 10 years, same percentage, same amount. $346 was your monthly payment. But I say this, now, literally, the rent of a one-bedroom apartment in Dallas-Fort Worth is much closer to $1,200 a month, and that's not a penthouse. You're not in uptown Dallas. You're not near the Ghost Bar. You are somewhere in the mid-cities with that. So let's say you could put $600 right into the loan. So now you're paying $946. Here's what happens. Your payback is $33. You only paid $3,000 worth of interest. And when did you pay it back? You pay it in 3 years. I think we could live that way for 3 years, and we've saved basically $30,000 worth of interest. Because why did I say $30,000? Because most people are going to go to that 20-year note. Wow, $60,000. Does it work this way? Pay back in 4.5 years. What? $691. There's the $600. The new payment, and again, I've done this on loan paybacks online, and I have an app on my phone that will do a college loan payback. $69. We've only paid $9,000 extra in interest to have that $60,000 worth of debt financed. We've saved $56,000 because again, I'm taking that from the 20-year note. We paid it back in 4.5 years. What if you added $1,200 to that? What if you added other monies to it? You see how fast you can pay that back? That's what ruthlessly looks like. I didn't say you're driving a Tesla. The Tesla S, that's $100,000. You're not driving a BMW. You're not driving even a brand new Honda. Yeah, you're keeping the old car, and you're just really doing everything. So now you got the rest of your life without a student loan. I have people that I work with in different facets that are in their upper 40s, and they are still paying back their student loans. I have some in their 50s, 60s, still paying back a student loan because they went to various forms of school and they took the 30-year note option. And all they can say is, why did I do that? Got a plan right here, my friends. We're going to come back to how we can really pay off debts, the culture of it. Again, we're in the United States economy. We're funding our economy through debt. If I took all the debt up and I averaged your student loan in there too, so we got credit cards, car, and student loan, it's a number that's huge, 6 figures. Since 2007, American homeowners have tapped into that home equity. Now, home equity is good to have, and it's good to, certainly finance your business with. Maybe you want to redo your home. But the number one reason was to pay back high interest rate credit cards. And so what happened was I paid off my credit card, but I just rolled it into a different debt. Now I'm looking at those cards and they're empty. So what do? I go fill them back up again. And it's a vicious cycle. Marriages, families, financial stress, pretty much the number one factor in divorces and breakups. It's overwhelming at times. Oh my gosh. If you work for one of these entities or you work for Cottonwood Financial, they're a business based in Las Colinas in Dallas. They own tons of these places. These are scum of the earth. Okay, they really are. There's nothing else I'm gonna say about them. They're the worst loans. They are and they're everywhere. They are 40,000 now strong. If you put Wendy's, if you put McDonald's, and if you put in Burger King, those have been 3 of the top franchises for the past 50 years of fast food. Add all those 3 franchises up with the number of stores they have, they still cannot. These payday loans are more. And this is something that's just come out since about the year 2000. It used to be pawn shops. Of course, you would pawn something. Here's why they're so terrible. The interest rate that you would pay is about 900% effective yield for them when you annualize it. You go in for a payday loan, it's like the 15th, it's the 20th of the month, and all of a sudden we just spent too much, and I just need $300. If I can get $300 to payday, I'll be okay. So I go into my payday loan, all right, and there's my payday loan lender, all right, we'll call her Carol. And I said, Carol, don't you worry, Randy. Here's what we're going to do. Give me your debit. We're going to give you $300 cash. And she counts it out in 20s. There's a little money fall there. I love it. And she said, I'm going to hit your credit card, your debit card, for $350 on the 2nd of the month. Okay? Quick 2-week loan. Oh, you are so great, Carol. I love you. Thank you. Okay, great. That's all I got to do. And then she's the cash. It's all set up. Boom. It used to be you'd have to write a $350 check, but now we just got it all online. All of a sudden, if I just did that, that's where I get the 700 to 900% effective yield for them. Because all of a sudden you got to annualize that out. That's not a good loan. That's terrible. That's the way to be broke. If you've ever done one, just call it the school of hard knocks and we'll never do it again. But these places, unfortunately, they know the statistics. I'm coming in on the 1st of the month and said, Carol, please don't hit that loan. I don't have. I'm already tapped out. Can I extend the loan? Oh yes, you can extend it. We'd be happy to extend that, Randy. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to add a $50 fee, another fee, and another $50 late fee, and then maybe even more than that. We got 2 extra fees, so now I owe $450 on a $300 loan. So I'm half my loan, and these things keep going on. There is nothing in the books. Bankruptcy doesn't get rid of these. By the way, bankruptcy will never, a student loan is unbankruptable. You cannot bankrupt a student loan either. You got to pay that stuff off. Okay? So don't let people tell you that you can pay up for 10 years and your student loan's going to be fine. We'll just write it off. If it ever gets written off, then it becomes ordinary income, and now you pay the tax on it. So there's a lot of different scams back on the student loans. Let's not we're going to pay our stuff off. We're going to pay this stuff off. These payday loans, people owe 10 grand or 10,000 pounds because they've really taken effect in the United Kingdom, and they have nothing to show for it. And again, they're under all sorts of heavy protection because of the lobbyists that are in Washington, D.C. Please, my friends, run away from this. Unfortunately, so much of the unbanked society has to use these. This is their only form of credit. So that's why we have to really get those relationships with banks. or credit unions. We don't want to go here. Car debt. Now, we are groomed in, we are taught that we always have a car payment, okay, throughout our lives. That's the way we run. You don't have to have that. Again, I drove a beautiful 50-year-old Toyota Corolla until I got in a car accident, and the car saved my life, but it totaled it. And I would still be driving that little girl today. I loved it so much. 550 is the average new car payment in North America. I thought it was 470. It's 550. The used one, and again, this is a relatively used car. New used car is 400 a month. You know, if you lease a car, it's 450. What if we could put $400 in an investment at 12% for 45 to 50 years? Yeah, how much would you have? You'd have $4 million in a perfect world. Is that car worth it? It's really not. My father, Ray Saleh, son, a car goes from point A to point B. It does work. That's all it is. Now, he was a product of the Great Depression, so you kind of know where he was coming from. But in the end, he's pretty much spot on. I mean, the car gets you to one place to another. Don't let it sabotage your financial plan. According to Consumer Reports, and my friends, this is possibly one of the best subscriptions you could ever make, either online or print or both, because Consumer Reports is completely unbiased. It's the only magazine I know that has absolutely no advertisements in it. They purchase everything, every car, every appliance they purchase with their funds, and they do rigorous testing, and they just say, hey, this one lasts, this is the best. No matter the price, they say this is going to be the best car for you. This is going to be the best appliance, best dishwasher. It is worth it. It would really help you on your purchasing strategies. Here's what Consumer Reports says after 50 years of testing. A new car will lose 60% of its value in the first 4 years. Now, a truck, if you're a truck person, trucks do have better resale value. Okay, this is sedans and SUVs. So, a new car at $28,000 on average will lose almost $17,000 in its first 4 years. So after 4 years, that $28,000 car is barely over $10,000. You're losing $350 a month in its value. So you know what you do? If you go buy a brand new car, okay, every Friday, get a $100 bill and throw it out the window. That's the effect you're having. All right, that's a Dave Ramseyism right there, and it's very true. But we haven't even touched it. What about your insurance? Okay, when you look at insurance, maintenance, and depreciation, that car is close to $800 plus per month. So they're not investments. Okay, you're going to go buy a Bentley. That's different. But for the most of us, never let someone say it's an investment. The truth about your toys, aren't those beautiful? Love them all. Here's a great success into wealth building. The grand total of your toys, that's anything that moves. That's the boat, it's the motorcycle, it's the car, it's the travel trailer. If those are more than 50% of your annual income, the value of those, you're going to go broke. Here's why. Like paying 30 grand for a car and you make 45,000. Every one of these and every other thing that I just talked about depreciate in value until they become worth nothing, and yet you've paid more for it than you should have. We've done that. You go out, you buy your brand new stuff when you have $1 million worth of assets. And the reason we say that is because you can afford to take the depreciation hit. Boats are horribly expensive, brand new. You can get if you want to get a 5-year-old boat, you can get one for a song. Same with the car. People who have created their own wealth. When we looked at the Millionaire Next Door, in the first unit, go out and buy those 3 to 5-year-old cars. Let someone else take all the depreciation hit, and then you can put a little bit of money back into it and drive that car and have that boat and have that motorcycle and that travel trailer and enjoy it because you're paying very little for it. Hope that makes sense. the problems of too much debt, the stress. It's intense. It's intense when you got to pay this back, and then all of a sudden you don't have the money you need for your other stuff. Yeah, panic attacks, ulcers, migraines, heart attacks. Deeper the debt, the more likely we will face health complications. Some warning signs. I can only pay the minimum balance each month. That's a warning sign. Increasing the total balance due each month, which means the interest rate is making it bigger. Missing payments or paying late all the time. Using up my savings to pay routine bills like our food, our utilities. Receiving those second, third notices, my friends. Not talking to your partner about money, or only talking about money. It's either this way. God, I can't believe where we're in, or we're fine. We're fine. It's fine. It's cool. It's cool. 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 Don't worry about it. That's not good. And depending over time to meet routine expenses, just trying to meet them with overtime pay. I can always work some more. Oh, that's tough. That's tough, my friends. Other signs, again, borrowing to pay old debts, not knowing how much you owe, going over the credit limit several times because we know credit cards, that's how they make their money, having no savings for the end, that means we have no emergency fund, again, being denied, getting a card revoked by the issuer, putting off routine medical visits because you can't afford them. All sorts of warning signs here. That's not what we're saying here. These are signs where you got to say, okay, something else has got to be done. And of course, the reasons, again, maybe we just want so much. I need to have this right now. Sometimes we use our money to punish or get even. You say, how's that possible? Well, in relationships, you say, oh, I can't have that. In a marriage, oh, well, I'm going to get it. And each person, buy something just to spite each other. All about the show. I got to look good. We have our children. We don't want our children to ever go without all the coolest stuff in the world. All of these things add up and begin to start crushing our finances. Serious consequences. Again, they're right here, my friends. They may result in the job losses, substance abuse, neglect of your family, may result in bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is nothing you want to go through. It's becoming fashionable in this last couple of decades to do so because a lawyer says, hey, I can help you. But remember, college loans don't go through that. Any of those payday loans, sometimes this is like the magic bullet that will make everything disappear. Bankruptcy laws have been rewritten since 2005, and I can tell you who rewrote them. It was all the credit card companies. So consumers could not walk away from their debts. No process under hearings in Washington, D.C. did someone, except for Elizabeth Warren, she was the only one who ever fights for the consumer. I've just seen her do it. And I said, what about all the marketing that you put on these people to buy and purchase and use your card, and now they're paying interest? Why can't you erase that? Oh, no, that's the cost of doing business. And so that gets swept under the rug real quick. It's the last resort. Now, I'm not saying ever do it, but make sure it's the last resort because it's going to do something very bad. It will damage your credit rating for the longest time. We've seen a lot of, in the past 20 years, the average age is 38. Friends, 25% of all bankruptcies are filed by 27-year-olds and under. You can't do it before 18. So you've got a short window and a quarter of the bankruptcies. Yikes. Again, it's been called an acceptable tool of credit management by many people. And real quickly, the loss of a loved one, a divorce, loss of a child, are horrific psychological issues for anyone to go through, and bankruptcy is included by the American Psychological Association. My psychologist says all the time, it is as much stress as your deepest anxieties. It just doesn't go away. And when you come out of bankruptcy, guess what happens? You're still liable for those debts. Whether the interest rate has stopped, that's a possibility. But there's nowhere to run from it. So here's what we're going to do. After that beautiful sunshine and roses lecture right there, let's stop it. Let's get proactive. Step one, let's not use debt for our purchases. Okay? Let's not do it, especially if we have a debt problem. We're not going to do it. We're going to use cash. Accumulate your $3,000. Okay, that's our emergency fund. Mow grass if you have to. I had a lawn service business for many years, and there's plenty of lawns to mow in Dallas and Fort Worth, and it's a great way to add extra income, deliver pizzas, whatever we have to do, get some extra money. Okay, list our debts in order. We're going to pay this kind of like that college loan. We're going to do it with our regular debts now. We pay off the smallest. This is the debt snowball. Larry Burkett created it. Dave Ramsey helped perfect it, and it's out there for us all to use. We're not concerned with interest rates. We're trying to develop what's called a focus. So I got something real simple here. These are also in all of your downloadable files in your resources. Again, print it out. It's just a grid. That's all it is. But if it helps organize you, everything I've given to you out there is for you. Okay, I don't make a dime off of it. I'm just not a good business person. Okay, I'm giving everything away. Let's say you have these debts: Dillard's, Nordstrom's, Visa, your car. You line them up. What's my payoff? What's my minimum payment? Now I'm putting in here a new column, new payment, and payments remaining. So you got really uptight. You got mad at what we just listened to and said, I'm gonna get rid of some of this stuff. I got $200 of Dillard's, and I've got the money right now. I'm gonna pay it off. Great. What we do is we take the existing minimum payment and we roll it into our new payment. Okay, so the next card up is Nordstrom's. The next debt up is Nordstrom's. I owe $550. I'm taking the 20 to the 55, and now my new payment is what? $75. So let's see what happens. All of a sudden, go back here, I had 10 payments, I'm now at 7 payments. So there we are. There's the new debt we're attacking right in here. When I pay this one off, what do? I take the 75, I add it to my 60 here, and of course I have been making my minimum payments on my other debts. But we're just focusing on the next smallest one up. So now I have $135 per month will be my Visa. So, okay, we've taken some money out already that we had, and now we've got $135. I mean, we've made some payments. Basically, these numbers are going down too. Now it's really going to go down. I got $135 in there. I've not added any extra money, have I? No. So I got 4 payments left at $135. Boom. Now I've got my car. I'm still going to pay it off, and that car runs so much better once it's paid off. It just rolls beautifully. Once you have it paid off, you're going to see, I love this car. All right, that's the attitude we need to take. What's $289? It's $424. Instead of the remaining 22 payments, I got 15 payments left, and I'm done. That's a debt snowball. We're taking the minimum, we're adding it once we pay a debt off, we add it to the new minimum of a new payment. What we usually do is pay off Dillard's and go right back to Dillard's and do what? Yep, add it up, more stuff we have. We just go back, and it's a never-ending cycle. This cycle is different. If we were doing what we were doing in the first place, we would have had 57 payments total, just paying the minimums. And of course, we would more than likely, just the psychology of the American consumer, been purchasing more things. Debt snowball, we have 40 payments. We saved 17 payments and paid it back at least a year early. A year of payments gone out of those 4 debts. You attack the smallest debt first, and you maintain minimums on everything else. Better to want than to owe. Do what's necessary, and you focus your attention, and you get that next bill, and you do the same thing. Hey, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. That $424, plow that back into your baby step 3. Plow back into your emergency fund. 24 more months, you've got a fully funded emergency of 10 grand. Okay. Actually, you'd have 13 grand because that should get you to $10,000 right there. So now you got 13 grand. So if you had no emergency fund whatsoever, you'd have, in 2 years, $10,000. Now, we're really, how's our financial future starting to look? No debts, and 10 to 15 grand in the bank. Now, this was not easy. It never is. Things that are worth doing are never easy, but they are so worth doing. 4 years, you paid $12,000 worth of debt off, and you saved $10,000 just by rearranging our way of thinking. That's it. What if we did this? $22,000 with a lot of effort. What if I had an extra $100? What if I had an extra $200? Oh man, then we would bring this number down to at least 2 years to put that in the mix. You now have an attitude. You now have the psychological muscle to really start building wealth. This is what different is. This is what ruthless looks like. And I'm kind of liking it. I hope you are too. That is an effort. Wait a minute. What if things aren't so great? That's okay. Hey, things do go bad. Well, we have the pandemic that we are in, and that we in the foreseeable future. Okay, make sure we're on a budget. If things don't go well, written budget at once. We got to go back to that cash flow plan and stick to it. Contact creditors to say them, I won't be able to pay you this month, or I can pay you half. Always work the deals. Don't think that because of my stress that they're going to understand that if I don't call them. Call them. Have a garage sale. Work that snowball. Maybe we got to get rid of a car. How many people in the pandemic have been able to get rid of a car because we just don't need it? Okay, all right. Have the talk with the family. Be in attack mode. Maybe we don't pay them all in 1 month. We understand. But that's okay. All right. We have strategies now. And that's what we want. What if somebody in my debts is calling me at work or calling me all the time and using harassment? This is what you tell them. And by the way, there's usually a 2-call state. Texas is a 1-call state, which means you are calling, or I should say, a one-party information, which means you know that you are recording a phone call, because you can record these and say, in the Fair Debt Collections Act of 1978, it is illegal to use abusive tactics in collecting the debt. I'm going to send this recording to the Attorney General's office. That'll get them off your back. The debt's still there. They just can't call you at different places and harass you. So that's always interesting to know. I hope, my friends, we have a better understanding. We know the sources of our credit, where to get it. We know the cost of it. Okay? You're going to pay interest. You're going to pay fees. We have an idea of that student loan debt. We know what debt causes to us, the anxiety that it brings. We can reduce that dramatically now. We know some loans to avoid. We're never going to co-sign. All right, that was from the first video. And we're not going to use the cash advance, Johnny Paycheck, pawn shop, payday loans. We're just never going to do that. We will cut grass if we have to. We can go rake leaves. Somebody's neighborhood has a lot of leaves or a lot of yard work. We can do the dirty work to get the money that we need sometimes. And then we've got the debt snowball. We can pay off that debt. We can manage it very well. That is our wrap up. That's how we eliminate and we work that debt out of our lives. Hope you enjoyed that. We're going now, after this video, we're going to look at purchasing strategies. Okay? Again, get your copy of Consumer Reports. Get that subscription if you're able to. That's a great way. It's a great tool in our personal finances for our lives. Guys, make it a great day.